Hey, good afternoon. How y'all doing? It is Well Read Beard. It's a damn fine day to talk about a book, and today we're here for a book review, and we're going to talk about A Game of Thrones by George R. Martin. I got the five book series like this. Now, why I'm not really sure why I'm reading this. I've I'm doing these in audio. I have read this book before, and I've read at least half of A Clash of Kings. But I like to use audio for rereads. I want to make my way through the entire series. I'll come back to that. I've seen the entire TV show. I think I've seen it twice, um, all the way through. But as I've often said, I'm bad at audiobooks, so I've got to be kind of selective on what I use those for. Often Stephen King rereads, nonfiction stuff where I know the gist of the story and don't have to catch every single thing. So I've done a lot of King books this way. I wanted something a little bit different. I'd thought about doing some of my horror favorites, things like The Exorcist, that I've read but wanted to do rereads of. I've thought about Lord of the Rings books. I settled on doing these because while I've read the first one all the way through twice now, I have not done the complete series. Now, another thing that jumps out as to maybe I don't really want to do this is this isn't finished, and I think popular opinion out there is that it's not going to be finished. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to get into this to see how much different it was than the show. I mean, I cannot speak for the entire five books, the entire five-book series, but this was pretty much dead on, unless I missed a few things. Like there was one aspect of this book that jumped out to me as being different, and it's when Jamie attacks Ned's men in the streets of King's Landing, and kills Ned's men and knocks him from his horse, and all that is exactly how it happened in the show, I guess. But Ned breaks his leg, and like compound fracture breaks his leg, and I don't remember that being that severe in the show. But because everything else is so dead on, I'm kind of questioning that now too. Like maybe that was the case. I'm going to give you a bit of synopsis, and of course, this edition doesn't have a synopsis. I'm going to tell you what Goodreads says, and again, I think most people know this story. I mean, the vast majority of, I would say, book people that are watching me have probably watched the Game of Thrones show. I don't know. But anyway, summers span decades, winter can last a lifetime, and the struggle for the Iron Throne has begun. As Warden of the North, Lord Eddard Stark counts it a curse when King Robert bestows on him the office of the Hand. His honor weighs him down at court when a true man does what he will, not what he must. And a dead enemy is a thing of beauty. The old gods have no power in the south. Stark's family is split, and there is treachery at court. Worse, the vengeance mad heir of the deposed Dragon King has grown to maturity in exile in the free cities. He claims the Iron Throne. I mean, that doesn't really give us much. This story is told, in chapters by characters, and you've got, let's see here. You've got Caitlin. Caitlin gets her own chapters, and Bran, and Arya, and Sansa, and Eddard, and Tyrion, and Jon Snow. And that's it. Like Robb Stark doesn't get his own chapters. Cersei Lannister doesn't get her own chapters. I think that's pretty much it. So again, Warden of the North, he is called South because the king is his best friend. He's called South to be the hand of the king. He takes his two daughters with him. Um, Catelyn stays at home with Robb, the oldest boy, and the two younger boys, Bran and Rickon, and Jon Snow, who at this point we think is Ned's bastard, is sent to the the wall guarding the wild lands of the north, or whatever, and that's it. So the family is immediately split up, and we that's really it. I mean, it's dead on the show. Sorry, that's not really it, but I'm just trying to think of what to really go into here. I mean, you know, I tried. It's impossible. It's impossible to not let pollution from the show, you know, infect this read. It's impossible not to see the characters from the television when you're reading this. Now, one thing I will say that I did notice, because Ned has a very, very uh, dark climax. I'm trying not to spoil it. I'm assuming y'all know, but has a very, very dark climax in this, and when that happened in the show, you were so invested in Ned. Like I thought Ned was the main character. I was like, this whole thing is about Ned. Ned's gonna, probably become king, and it's gonna be about him. And we enjoy the parts about his children, but this story is about Ned. And again, you come to find out that it's not. But what I'm saying is, when that happened in the show, it was so much of a shock to me. I guess I should have read the book, but it was so much of a shock. And in the book, I kind of like I don't know if we. I mean, Ned's a good guy. He's a good man in this particular time. Um, he's a good father, and so on and so forth. But I don't know that we fell in love with Ned the way we did in the TV show, or the way I did. And maybe that's because, to be honest with you, when watching the TV show, Sean Bean, is that how you say it? It looks like Scene Bean, but Sean Bean was really the only actor other than Cersei Lannister, I think, that I was like super familiar with. So I was like, that dude's the main character, blah, 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 blah. You kind of get what I'm saying. But on reading, like when it happened, like you're like, maybe it's because you already knew, or maybe because, again, you're reading about a character in a book, not a famous actor that you've seen in multiple other films. So I just don't, for whatever reason, like that dark climax for Ned wasn't as brutal or as uh, I don't know, as shocking as it was on screen. Now, one cool thing about that, though, the brutal climax, is that you don't see it. Like you don't see it through anyone's eyes. I mean, like we're listening to it happen as Arya, but someone covers her face, pulls her aside. There's an auditory aspect to it. She hears something, but we don't see it. We don't see it through Sansa's eyes or Sansa's eyes or anybody else. We're with Arya when it happens, and you're kind of like, and it kind of breaks away on in the show too. But what I'm saying is like, you see that shit happen, and you're like, okay, so now we're gonna go tell Sansa's side of the story, and she's up there on stage, and she's gonna see it happening. But after that, it's Sansa is after the fact, and then we visit like Robb and Catelyn Stark after the fact, and so yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a cool read. It's a cool fantasy read. I don't read a lot of fantasy books. I mean, I liked the Lord of the Rings books a lot. I liked the Harry Potter books quite a bit. I liked this TV show. I mean, I think this book is probably 4 stars for me. This particular edition that I've got is roughly like 850 pages, I think. And again, I did it in audio. But I like the way the chapters are broke out, by character. They're super fast to read. So this 850 page book, I mean, I felt like I was knocking out 100 pages a day, and not really with a lot of like trouble, like not really struggling to do that. But yeah, a Game of Thrones. I mean, I don't really know what else I can tell you about the story that you don't already know. It's a cool fantasy story about about warring over this throne of the seven kingdoms, and we've got a king. The king dies in a hunting accident, and then his son should be the next in line, but there's questions about his son's legitimacy, so then it should be his brother, but this and that, and there was always a king in the north that didn't swear allegiance to the king in the South until like I don't know, a couple hundred years ago or whenever that was. And so now Rob Stark, after all this has happened, has named himself the King of the North again. One thing I will say though that's cool is that like I had no idea that the House of the Dragon, the TV show that's out now, like was like already defined out. You know, like we already knew that that Rhaenyra would not sit on the throne. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but her son would. And all that is defined, right here in the House Targaryen breakdown here in the back of the book, which I found pretty cool. Viserys I, who is Rhaenyra's father, is king, and then Aegon II, his son, is king for like 2 years, and then Aegon III, who is Rhaenyra's son, is the king following Aegon II. So Rhaenyra never gets the throne, even though it's been promised to her, but her son will. So that's kind of cool to see that laid out in something that came out, I guess, a long time ago. So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited. I'm already 100 pages into the Clash of the Kings or a Clash of Kings. But yeah, 4 stars. Cool story. Cool fantasy story. I'm definitely interested in more series. Like, I've heard a lot about Brandon Sanderson. I've absolutely never read him. So if you've got the lowdown on some enjoyable series that I should read after doing this unfinished 5 book Game of Thrones series, let me know. I'm definitely interested in that. Well, Redbeard, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn